Hello friends, once again I welcome all of you back to the series of tutorial video of the 3D modeling of a double-storied residence. In this video we will learn the procedure to create this particular gable end with a decorative work. Let's switch over to the 3D file and see how it will appear. So this is how our gable end will appear once you actually create it. Let's start with the procedure. Let's go to the 2D file and get some dimensions. You can download this 2D elevation drawing from the video description page of this video. To create this gable, we need certain dimensions. The height of the gable, when you measure, you can see that it is 51 cm and this offset is 7 cm. So we will start by creating a vertical line with a length of 51 cm. Let's switch over to the 3D file. You can download this file from the video description page of this video. When I construct the gable end, I need to keep only the layer of the roof active. Rest of the layer I'll keep in the off state. So I'll click on the layer walk option and I'll select the roof layer, which is 3D roof. I'll just click on close button and I'll just click continue. So only the roof layer is retained. This was a construction line, so I'll just erase it. That's not required. Now I'll orbit this a bit. Next, I'll align the UCS with the front face because this is where I want to construct that vertical line. So I'll click on View tab and I'll go to Coordinate panel and I'll select the front. Now UCS is aligned with the front face. And I'll click on Polyline and I'll start a polyline from this midpoint. So I'll activate OSnap and I'll click on this midpoint. And I'll keep the cursor straight up. My ortho mode is on, as you can see here. Now I'll simply type the value 51. Now I have constructed a line with a length of 51 centimeters. Next I'll draw an inclined line starting from this endpoint to this perpendicular. So I'll click on Polyline again and I'll select this as the start point. Okay, and I'll go to Shift right click and take perpendicular. From the OSnap menu and I'll click here. Now I've got a perpendicular line. Now I'll activate Move command and I'll select this polyline and I'll click this point as the base point and I'll choose this as a second point. Now this line has got the same slope as that of this face of this roof. Let's switch over to viewport configuration and see the result. So I'll click on View tab, Viewport configuration, and I'll take 2 vertical. And in this viewport, I'll keep a front elevation. You can click on the viewport properties menu and you select the front from here. Now you can see that these 2 slopes are the same. Now I have to just cut off this excess portion. Okay, so I'll go to Polyline and I'll start a polyline from this endpoint to this endpoint. You can just pick a point somewhere over here. And this line will act as a cutting edge to trim this excess portion. So I'll click on the trim command. When I'm asked to select objects, I'll choose this particular edge as a cutting edge, give an enter, and when you're asked to select the object to trim, you can just click on this. Now I can mirror this particular line onto this side. Okay, so I'll click on the mirror command and I'll select this as the object to mirror, and this is the first point on the mirror line and this is the second point on the mirror line. This vertical line is not required anymore, so I'll select it and click on Erase command to erase it. Next, I'll convert these 2 segments as a single profile. For that, I'll go to Modify panel and I'll select Join, or else you can give the Join command and I'll select this and this as the object to join. And when you right click, you can see that these 2 objects will get joined as a single object. Next, I'll perform an offset. So click on Offset command and it will ask you for an offset distance. That offset distance is 7 cm. We have already obtained that value from the 2-dimensional drawing. Now this is the object to offset and this is the side to offset. Even these 2 portions which are extended beyond this line has to be trimmed. For that you can make use of the same cutting edge. So I'll click on the trim command. When I'm asked to select the cutting edge, I can just choose this as a cutting edge, right click to give an enter to select the object to trim. I can activate this viewport, choose this as well as this as the object to trim. Next, I have to combine these 2 objects as a single profile. For that, I have to draw 2 segmental lines over here as well as on this endpoint. So I'll click on Polyline command and I'll select this as the start point and this as the end point, and I'll create the same polyline on this edge as well. So from here to here I'll draw another polyline. Okay, next I can convert this as a single profile. So I'll go to modify panel and select join again, and I'll select this as the first object, second object, and when I'm asked to select the third object I can choose this as well as this. Now these segments are combined as a single object. Next, we will extrude this profile in such a way that the extruded surface will go inside the slope. So I'll click on extrude command and I'll select the profile. When I'm asked to select the profile to extrude, I'll choose this, just give an enter. When I'm asked to give the height of extrusion, just drag the mouse all the way inside and just pick a random point there. Now when you shade it, you can see that it has gone completely inside this sloped roof. Now we have to remove the portion of the extruded surface that has gone inside the sloped roof, so that you will get two edges here. Okay, for that we have to give a command in Autocad which will check the overlap between solids. And this command is called interfere command, and you can get that command from the solid editing panel. So I'll click on this interfere command. You are supposed to select the first set of solids, and this is the first set of solid, and you have to give an enter, and that enter is important. Just give an enter and select the second set of solid and give another enter. Autocad shows the overlapping area in red color, and it will show you the two sets of solids here. Okay, here you have an option called delete interference objects created on close. I'll just disable this. That means I want to retain this interference solid. So just give close. So that interference solid is retained. Next, I'll perform a subtraction of this interference solid from this particular extruded object. So I'll click on subtract command and select this object as the first object from which you want to subtract. Then give an enter and select the second set of solid and give another enter. Now you can see that the interference solid got subtracted. In fact, this extruded solid is actually cut into two parts. Okay, I actually want to remove this part. At the moment, you cannot give erase because even if they are two separate objects, they remain as a single unit. So you have to first separate them out. For that, you can give a command called separate solids. Okay, you can get that from the solid editing toolbar. Just click on that and you select it. You will get a number of options here. Just give an enter to exit this command. Okay, now you can see that these two solids are separated as two separate objects. Now you can erase this particular portion which is going inside the sloped roof. So select this portion and you can give erase command. Now you have got only the required part of the gable end. You can select this line which was used as a cutting edge and give erase. Now let's switch over to the shaded representation. So I'll go for shaded with edges option. Okay, next we will move this particular front face of the gable through a distance of 15 cm in the positive z-axis direction. So let's see how it will appear once you move it. So this is the completed file. See, presently this particular face is right here in this position. So when you move it through a distance of 15 cm in the positive z-axis direction, you will get this appearance. Let's try that. So I'll click on the solid editing panel and I'll select extrude face. In Autocad, you can extrude any desired face of a solid object. So I'll just click on this face and just select the 3D solid. So that face is selected and I'll select this as the base point. When I'm asked to give the second point, I'll give 15 cm. So I'll type 15. Now it will ask you for the extrusion taper angle. I don't want to give any angle, so I'll just give an enter. Here, the height of extrusion is provided by specifying 2 points. Alternatively, you can also give a value for the height. Next, we have to create the decorative work which you see here. And in order to create the decorative work, we have to first create the profile and extrude it. To create the profile, let's make use of the two-dimensional elevation drawing. So I'll switch over to that drawing and you can see the decorative work over here. You don't have to manually create a polyline to make the decorative work, but instead the software will automatically trace it for you using the boundary command. So I'll click on the draw panel and I'll select boundary, or else you can give boundary command using the keyboard. Now I'll click on the pick points option and I'll pick an internal point over here. Okay, that particular boundary is highlighted. Now you pick one more point here and one more point here. Then you just right click. So the AutoCAD will give you an alert. It will tell you that the polyline boundary could not be created. It is asking whether you want to create a region. I'll give yes, I want to create a region. Now the region is automatically made. Now you can select all these regions and I'll click on Ctrl C so that this will get copied to the clipboard. Now I'll switch over to my 3D project file. Now I'll press Ctrl V here. Now you can see that the regions are pasted to this drawing. But when I just give a click to insert it, you will see that those regions disappear. That's because these regions actually fall on the 0 layer. And the 0 layer is kept in the off state. So let's switch on the 0 layer. I'll just click on the on button over here and you can see that those regions reappear on the screen. Here I have already created a layer called 3D roof wood. I'll just activate it and I'll keep it as the current layer. And I'm planning to keep all these objects into that particular layer because these objects are going to have a different finish anyway. Now I'm going to extrude all these regions which I have created. So I'll click on the extrude command and I'll select all these regions and I'll give a height of extrusion of -5 centimeters. Next I'll move this extruded object and I'll keep it over here. So I'll click on the move command and I'll select these objects and I'll keep this as the base point and I'll choose this particular endpoint as the second point. Now it is taken inside the gable. Next I'll move this decorative work through this gable through a distance of 5 centimeter. So I'll click on move command again and I'll select this decorative work and I'll click on the base point anywhere on the screen you can pick and I'll just keep the mouse in the negative z direction and I'll give a distance of 5 centimeter. Now it is taken inside. When you orbit this view, you can see that the portion of the sloped roof is seen through the gable. Okay, this area should not be visible. For that, you have to cover the back face of the gable. So let's make that surface to cover the back face. So I'll go to Polyline command and I'll click this point as a start point and I'll pick this as the next point and one more point over here. Then I'll just give a close to complete my polyline. Right click and close. Next I'll give an extrude command on this and I'll give a height of extrusion of -5. But this particular object has to be moved inward through the gable through a distance of 10 centimeter so that the decorative work will be exposed. So I'll click on move command and I'll select this particular object and this is the base point which you can just click on the screen and just keep the cursor in the negative z direction and you type the distance of 10 centimeter. Now you have covered the back face of the gable. Now we have completed this gable after incorporating all the necessary details. Next we will block this gable and keep it as a single unit because we need to reuse the same gable at different places on the main roof. Before making a block, I would like to switch over to single viewport configuration. So I'll click on view tab and I'll select viewport configuration and single. Let me make a block of it. So I'll click on the insert tab and I'll select the create block button. Click on the create block command. Now you will get the block definition dialog box. Here I should specify the block name first. I'll call this block as Gable because it's nothing but a gable end. Now it will ask you to specify the base point or insertion point. Just click on pick point option and you select this endpoint as the base point. Now here you can either retain the object on the screen as such or you can convert the object on the screen into a block or else you can just click on delete button. In all these cases, you will be creating the block definition. If you need any further clarification on creating blocks, please refer my exclusive video on blocks by clicking on this particular link given on the screen. Now I would like to retain the object on the screen as such, so I'll leave this option as retain. Now I'll select the objects to be blocked. I'll select all these objects using a standard window and I'll give OK. Now we have made a block. Next I'll move this entire object and I'll keep it over here. So I'll click on the move command and I'll select the entire object. I'll choose this endpoint as the base point and I'll select this particular endpoint as a second point. In fact, the gable end actually rests on the top of this roof of the sit-out. When you go for the shaded representation, you can make out an edge over here In fact, since the gable is a part of the main roof, you have to eliminate this particular edge. That is done by performing the union operation between the gable end and the main roof. So you can click on the union command and you select this gable end as well as the main roof and give an enter. Now when you go to shaded representation, you won't see the presence of that particular edge. Now I'll go to layer panel and I'll click on the layer walk and I'll turn on all layers except the plan layer. I'll just select all the layers and just give close and click on continue. Now let's orbit this view and take a perspective. By right clicking, I'll click on perspective to get a perspective view. This is how you make a perfect gable end on a sloped roof. Let's go back to the 2D elevations and see the next object to be created. When you look at the front view as well as the side view, you can see that we have a porch on the right side of this house. And this porch has got a sloped roof and a gable end. You can easily create the sloped roof using the procedure which was explained in the previous video. And you're already familiar with the procedure to create the gable end. But when you look at the porch, you can see that the porch is resting at a different level. It is situated at a distance of 30 cm below the ground level. Let us assume that the porch is resting in the same level as that of the house. Because if you want to create a level difference, we should learn the land modeling or terrain modeling. We will have an exclusive video on this topic on a later stage. This is how it will appear once you make the porch. This perspective view, which is appearing more realistic, is created using the dview command or dynamic viewing command. Please refer my exclusive video on making perspectives if you want to learn more about this command. Let us just orbit and see this roof from various angles. In fact, I took a copy of this body of the pillar and I have kept it here. And I have created a base. Inside the pillar base, I have incorporated some detailing work. And I have already explained the procedure to create this work. Let's go back to the 2D elevation. See what else need to be created along with this roof of the porch. When you look at this roof, you can see an extension over here. Even if this extension seems to be a simple feature, while you make this in 3D, you can learn some interesting things. So let's go back to the 3D file and I'll orbit this view to see the area where the extension is to be created. In fact, this portion of the roof we have to stretch slightly towards this direction through a distance of 30 cm. So in order to do that, we will construct some edges. First of all, we have to create this edge. In fact, this edge is clearly seen here because it's a shaded representation. In the wireframe, this edge has to be created as a separate edge. Before creating those edges, let's change the color to a different color. Presently, the color is set at by layer. By clicking Ctrl 1, you will get the properties dialog box and we will change the color to red color. Now I'll go to solid editing panel and I'll select the copy edge option to copy these two edges of the extruded roof. Now when you give copy edges, it will ask you for a base point. I'll click this point as a base point and I'll choose the same point as a second point. Now the copied edges are coinciding with the edges of the solid object and these edges are displayed in red color. Now let me align the UCS to this particular face before I create the next edge. Now presently the UCS is in a different orientation. So I'll go to View tab and I'll select left to align the UCS with the left face. Now I'll go to Polyline and I'll start the polyline from this end point. Then I'll turn the ortho mode on. It's already on. Then you just pick a point over here. Okay. Now you have constructed another edge. Now let me perform the trim command. I'll choose these two edges as a cutting edge. Then I'll trim this portion of the line. So that is trimmed off. This is the required line. Now after you perform the trimming, you can erase these edges. Now I'll select those edges and click on Erase tool. In AutoCAD, you can imprint an edge to an existing face. Thereby you can subdivide that face. For example, this face of the roof is a single face, this particular face. By imprinting this edge, I can subdivide this face to two faces. So let's go to the imprint option of the solid editing panel. I'll click on imprint. So it will ask you to select the solid to which you want to imprint it. This is the solid. Now it will ask you to specify the profile to be imprinted, which is this polyline. Now AutoCAD will ask you, do you want to delete the profile that is imprinted? Yes, I want to delete it. Once you imprint it, you can always delete the original profile. This face is subdivided into two faces, and this face can be now extruded. I'll click on extrude face and I'll select this particular face. Now this face is highlighted. Just give an enter. Now it will ask you for the height of extrusion. Height of extrusion is 30 centimeter. So you type simply 30 and just give one more enter because I don't want to give any taper angle. Now that particular edge is extruded. Now just give an enter to go out of this command. Now I would like to move the face of this e-board towards this particular edge. So I'll click on the move face option of the solid editing panel and I'll select this particular face and choose this as the base point and this as a second point. Now let's go for a shaded representation and see what you have done. This is the extension of the roof we have created. Okay, even over here we have created similar kind of extension. In the last tutorial we have done it through subtraction. Hope this tutorial has given you some clear insights on some important areas in AutoCAD, especially in the area of solid editing based on edges and faces. Do make a try to complete this entire tutorial. I have provided all the drawing files required to complete this tutorial along with the video description of this video. Please don't hesitate to interact with me whenever you need clarifications while doing this tutorial. Thanks for your patience and time.